Welcome to Biz Dev Live. My name is Cameron Toth, and I am so excited to bring you the amazing Brittany Daniel today. She is a YouTube sensation. She's a caring individual. She's got a message of just go out there and try it. She has built up an amazing following. She's an absolutely beautiful human being, both on the outside and the inside. We're going to get into her journey from the military to YouTube to all of that right after the Biz Dev theme.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
Brittany Daniel is a digital content creator and creates content to help young adults in the areas of personal finance and self-development. She was born in Oakland, California, and graduated with a BA in marketing from Prairie View A&M University. Brittany is a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority. She has 93,000 plus subscribers on YouTube. She had 907,000 views on her YouTube video, How to Budget and Save Money, Tips and Hacks Alone. I'm so excited to bring you the amazing Brittany Daniel. Thanks for being on the show with me.
Thank you, Cameron. I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much.
So tell everybody just kind of what you're doing now. Obviously, you have the YouTube channel, but you're a business as well, and you're doing some different things out in the world. And I'm curious to know what you're doing besides that, and then we'll kind of get into the background afterwards.
Ooh, I'm a 9-to-5er with so many things going on with YouTube, which is a business under my production company, and then I have some developments with one of my close friends, business developments and structures. Just like most of you guys and most of you, like Cameron, you just have so many things that you juggle and you try to keep up with the social life. So I'm basically doing what everybody else is doing, trying to be on the next wave and grow your business. And I'm just trying to make it happen like everybody else. Yeah.
So I know that, are you currently working with the military?
Yes, I am.
So that's the 9-to-5.
Yes.
So we'll get into a little bit more of that story in just a moment. But you have, I mean, I was looking at your profile before I sent you the invite to be on the show, and I was just thinking, this is a human being that's got so much going on, and you're super passionate about giving back, and it's telling that this video that's been viewed, closing in on 1 million views, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Right? That I'm blown away by that. But it's something that's helpful. It's giving back. So how did it all start? How did this journey begin?
Okay, so I have to take you all the way back to college. I was in undergrad, and I've always been a hustler. And mostly like any entrepreneur, anybody that wants to do multiple things, we always have that hustle spirit. So in high school, I had 3 jobs at one time. And when I was in college, I was tired of going to school and having to work to just have money in school. And so I was dating a guy at the time, and he comes to me, and this was at the time where war was really at peak. And he said, "Hey, do you want to make some money while you're in school?" And I'm like, heck yeah. So I met a recruiter. He had me go to basic training, AIT, which is individual training in the military. And I came back and I joined ROTC. And so ROTC was how I started my military journey. And so about 3 years into, or I want to say 1.5 years into active duty, I noticed that I didn't feel like myself. I felt disconnected from things that I loved, which was makeup, hair. There was just a whole different world that I did not get on a day-to-day basis. Being in the military, you get praised for looking ugly. And I'm just being honest. Like, there's no makeup. Nobody cares what you look like. And all of my peers were like into history and all of these things that I just did not really that just didn't pique my interest. And so what ended up happening is I went to a friend's house. She was also in the military. Shout out to Ashley. And she was doing her makeup. She was doing contouring. And this is back when contour, like heavy contour, was really popular. And so I'm watching her do her makeup, and she's like, I was like, where did you learn how to do this? Because it came out really, really pretty. But it started off, she looked like a character or something. And I was just like, where did you learn how to do all this? She was like, YouTube. And I was like, what's YouTube? And now, mind you, this was like in 2000, I want to say, I was late to the game and for YouTube. I joined YouTube, I want to say 2013/14, and YouTube had been around for a while back at that point, but I had no idea it existed. And so she was like, yeah, go watch some YouTube videos. And she gave me some recommendations, and I stayed up all night just in a rabbit hole of content creators and people like Shameless Maya and It's My Ray Ray and Raven Elise, and the list can go on, and Missy Lynn. And there were so many YouTubers back then that are still doing it now that really opened my eyes to a whole different world of creating. And at the time, nobody talked about how much money they made. It was still fairly new in that realm. But I just needed an outlet for my 9-to-5 job. And that's where I found my happy place. That's where I found my tribe, my community. And at the time, you didn't need a certain, amount of subscribers or anything to get monetized. So I monetized really early. And at that time, it wasn't as saturated as it is now. So it was easy to kind of grow and just put out content, and people would see it. And over time, it just became something that I just absolutely loved. And it's harder now because it's more of a business, and there's a lot more strategy, because the more saturated any market becomes, the more strategy you have to go about doing it. You're competing a lot more with people's time and attention. And back then it just was a lot more fun. I just got to do whatever I wanted. And now it's a little different. I still do what I want, but I'm more focused on my audience and what they want to see and how I can help them, versus just playing around on YouTube back then. But that's how it all got started.
So I know you were saying that you just sort of saw it and you spent some time on it, but what was like the time, like, 'cause you're in the military, you're working, like, how did it progress? As you got, two different things going on. Mm-hmm. You've been leveling up in the military as well. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things that I think, especially for young people, but for folks in general, and we were talking a little bit about this before we jumped on, but, structuring business and saving money, personal brand, which we didn't really get into, but I know this is going to be a big part of the conversation. For sure. Sometimes folks are like all in on one thing, and everything else is like halfway, or if they're doing two things, they're halfway on both. But you seem to have been very much like you're all in on your professional career. You're able to keep that. And I also notice, because a lot of people will talk about their side hustle. Mm-hmm. And even talking about it in that way can sometimes be like limiting talk, right?
Right, for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think where I'm going with this, but how have you been able to sort of do both things and do them well?
Not easy. It has not been easy. I struggled a lot. And there was a point where I got off active duty to go pursue this full time. And at first I was in New York, and so I was getting my footing. I was going to grad school. And so that was my 9-to-5, because I got paid to go to school while I did YouTube and content creating. So I got to spend 2 years figuring it out, because it was still really early. I wasn't making any money off of YouTube at the time until I had a viral video. And I absolutely took that down. That's a whole other story for a different day. All viral, like, people are chasing viral videos. All viral videos aren't good viral videos. But I took it down, and that same year is when I came up with the idea of doing a budget and savings video, because I wanted to help young people the way I wasn't helped, or my parents didn't have the tools, or they just didn't teach me. And that's now still my most successful video, even almost 4 years later. But it wasn't until, and I tell you this, so I left grad school and I was still doing YouTube full time, but it wasn't bringing in the income, and I really wasn't as focused. I didn't put in the energy and work, I will say that I needed, because people on YouTube make it look very, very easy. And what I know now that I didn't know then is when you want to step up to something of that capacity and really do this, you have to put your all into it. And I can say that I really wasn't putting as much energy into it as I needed to continue the success of it. So I ended up having to work 2 jobs again and really start from scratch. And mind you, somebody that went from making almost 6 figures in the military to having to be a waitress and a retail assistant manager while still doing YouTube. So it's had its peaks and valleys. It hasn't always been, a smooth sailing ship. It hasn't always been easy. It hasn't always, been right. And then some videos really took a very long time to take off. So you don't always see your return on investment, sometimes until 6 months later, years later. So it hasn't always been like that, but it's something that I feel I was called to do. I feel like it's a part of my passion and purpose, so I stick with it. And just consistency over the years, but it has not been. I'm happy I make it look easy, and a lot of people do, but it's not. It's just like anything else. Oh, Cameron, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. I was getting the YouTube video up, and with the live, I'm careful. Like, let me make sure I got myself muted so that we're not having disruption there. But then I'm muting myself and unmuting. All right, so you were in the military, working, or I guess you joined the military, right? Is that correct? And
yes.
then you left, and now you're working for them again. Is that right?
Full time.
All right. So when you left, you kind of focused on the YouTube, but you weren't really making money on that. You were working the part-time jobs, and then you got back into the military. So how did that, because I know people will be curious about how that worked. How did you join back up with the military? So now are you a civilian contractor, or did you?
No. So when I got off active duty, I joined the reserves. And a lot of times what people don't know is in the reserves, you have opportunities to be full-time. And so I just wanted to relocate. I did it. I wanted to be a commander. That was that was one of my only goals, to be honest with you, as a officer. So I became a commander. That was full time, but I wasn't being paid full time. And then I wanted to relocate to Atlanta, and I found this opportunity that I'm doing now. So I'm so grateful for all of my leadership, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here doing what I want to do. But it allowed just me to get my footing again. And it's always best to do a big transition like that when you have something stable and solid. And YouTube can be very fickle. There are people that are out there that are making millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers. I'm not making that. And I know what type of lifestyle I like to have. I know what type of things I like to do. So I'm willing to make that sacrifice in order to supplement the income. But I've been doing it this long, and I'm still not there. I'm still not at a place where I can easily just let the stability that I have go. It's coming. I see it coming. It's right around the corner. But I have a few things, I like to set up first. And what I learned the first time about taking a leap of faith, because you hear that all the time, like, oh, just quit your job. Well, if you don't have a plan in place, which I didn't, if you don't have that structure, if you don't have those milestones hit or the money saved up, you can take the leap, but you're going to hit rocks going down. And I hit a lot of rocks. I went through a very dark time financially, which was funny because that was some of the most fun that I've ever had in my life. But financially, I wasn't flying. And so when you have a plan in place and you take a leap of faith, then your wings kind of spread out. But it doesn't always happen like that. And unfortunately, I have one of those stories where I took a leap of faith and I had to go back. And I want to let anybody know out there that it's okay. Like, everybody's journey is different. I know we hear all these success stories on YouTube and all these famous people and celebrities and things like that. But what a lot of times we don't see is all the grind and all the work and all the time they said no and had to go back and had to deter from their dream or whatever they were doing in order to make something work. So I'm still in the process of that, and I'm okay with it. And I've accepted it. It's a part of the journey. And one day I will be able to just fully do content creating. Right now, it's just sometimes I allow God to come in my life too and steer the boat. And right now, this is what I feel like I'm called to do. And I know it's coming to an end. I can feel it. But right now, that's where I'm at.
So do you get fulfillment from the military career? And talk to us. Are you allowed to talk? I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, but talk a little bit about your job in the military.
I do when I'm able to help people. I do get a lot of fulfillment because I do my job very well. I can say that everybody can say that when I do something, I do it to my best of my ability. I don't get the same fulfillment as I do on doing content creating and helping people in that way. But I think my purpose on the planet is to help people. And I get to do that in both scopes. Is it something that I absolutely love? It's not. But there's stuff that I don't love about YouTube. I had to hire an editor because I hate editing. Like, I hate editing. I would have all this footage. I'd have all this footage and I just hated to edit. So I feel like there's never, my dad said, there's never euphoria. You know, you can do your passion and you can do what you love, but work is work and everything takes work. It's like 20% fun, 10% fun, and the rest is work. There's a lot of hard work that goes into anything you do. So I don't think that I'll ever be, well, maybe I won't say ever, because I'm getting there. I have some plans in works in the next couple of years, but right now I'm not at the place where either one is just super fulfilling that I have to do, you know, either one full time. But no, there's times where on both sides that I hate it for sure.
So talk to me. So are you in Atlanta now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. And how are you enjoying Atlanta? Because I know you said you're born in Oakland, California, right?
Yes, I am. But I love Atlanta. My dad's side. So my father, his parents, my siblings on my dad's side all live in Atlanta. I have cousins here. And so I love Atlanta. Atlanta's open. We have a governor that kind of allows us to be responsible with our mask, but there, you know, restaurants are open. You can do activities. So honestly, I've been loving it. I love Atlanta. It's a great city. If anybody hasn't come down to Atlanta. It's a lot of fun.
There's a certain amount and group of people, including myself, that are very, very, very happy with Georgia right now. Georgia came through big time for us, so we're really appreciative of it. Talk to us about, you know, this journey with YouTube. You know, you talked about, you know, the challenge with the money side of it. You know, everybody looks at it. I know 93,000 subscribers. You know. It's very impressive. I would love to be there. A lot of people, I'm sure, would love to be in your shoes. I know there's a lot of different ways to monetize it, but like you said, it's not, you know, subscriber numbers aren't the like secret access card to wealth, prosperity, and well-being, right? It's something. It's absolutely a platform. And there's a lot of opportunities that open up. So I'd love to hear about, you know, kind of how you're managing that aspect of the business, what the opportunities are for folks as they're building their channels. And I'm going to set up a few different things. So you got some stuff to talk about. What has been the sort of the communication from brands and people reaching out, seeing that you have a big following? What has that conversation been like?
So I love that you said that. So yes. So one of the ways that people get paid on YouTube is AdSense, and AdSense is a portion of most YouTubers' income, but then you have brand deals and sponsorships. And that can be very overwhelming, especially when you're by yourself. A lot of these people that you guys see that have some of them have teams. So, you know, some of them have managers that manage, you know, what brand deals they get. And if you're anybody like me, I'm still doing everything myself. So it get very overwhelming. It's hard you have to deny a lot because maybe, yes, they have a great product, but their product doesn't align with your brand or your audience, because your audience is the number one and most important aspect of everything that you do. That's why they give you their time and their attention. And so if things don't align with my audience, then I have to say no matter how great the money is or no matter all of that. And then there's other opportunities. Like I have a confidence conference coming up, which I'm super excited about. And so you could get a portion of things like doing conferences, webinars. There's so many different avenues, merchandise. You can do speaking engagements. There's so many different avenues and ways that you can make income. But I'm a firm believer in sometimes haste equals waste. And you have to be real with yourself and understand what you can do mentally. There's some people that can maximize their calendar. And if you're anything like me, I cannot do that. I need a lot of self-care and downtime. So there's a lot of things that I say no to. There are a lot of things that I do for free because I just want to do them. And so because I'm taken care of in my financial aspect, I don't really, I want to just make really, really good content and really authentic and consistent content. And the money always comes, you know, the money will always come. The opportunities will always come and I get them, but there are a lot of that I have to turn down. I had to say no to a reality show recently. And there's a lot of things that come at you, and you just have to, one, know who you are to manage it very well, and then be honest with your audience and what's best for them. It's like a child, right? It's like, what's best for your child. You don't make decisions kind of what's best for you. You make what's best for your customers or your subscribers. And that's kind of where I'm at, is just making sure that when I do pick a brand deal or I do talk about something, right, I'm making sure that I'm putting something out in front of them that I know that they're going to love and that I genuinely love too. And I'm not just doing it just to make money, because when your audience stops trusting you, then you lose them. And you don't.
Has there been any brands that have come along or that you've reached out to? And I'd love to know what that process looked like in terms of, if you did reach out to somebody, how you did that. But are there any brands that you've started partnering with because they did align? I know you said you have a confidence conference. That sounds amazing, by the way. So many people need confidence. Confidence is one of those things that, you know, we were talking about. Personal growth, the career, being able to be your full self in both your 9 to 5 and your passion project, not your side hustle, right? Your passion project, right? So I love that you're doing the Confidence Conference. Talk to us about what brands have aligned with your.
Okay. So a few years ago, I worked with Chime. Chime was an online bank account that had a lot of great incentives that I felt like the traditional bank did not have. And so, those videos are still on my channel. I did a Chime review. I still use them to this day. I actually really love it. I haven't had any issues with that bank. So when I get brand deals like that, it makes sense. I talk about personal finance and personal growth. What wouldn't make sense is well, I don't know. I'm about to move into a house, so maybe I would align with a refrigerator brand down the line. But right now, me selling a refrigerator wouldn't make sense right now. But I'm going to have moving content, so maybe that would. So it just really depends on what aligns. But normally, how it works is a brand will reach out to me, and they'll reach out, and I'll say thank you for your interest in my brand, and then I'll send them my media kit, and I'll ask them if they have a budget and what if there's anything in particular that they would like to hit on, or I try to get the brand to express everything that they need from me and what the collaboration looks like, because they're now your customer. Once you start working with them and you sign a contract, that's very important, that's now your customer, and you want to make them happy while you're also thinking about your audience and making them happy as well. So there's a lot of business that goes in with that. Contracts, negotiating your deal or your rate, having those communications. Sometimes it can be 20 emails just with one brand. Then you have revisions. And so as a creator or as somebody that's making content, you have to have your own policies and things in line so that the brand doesn't take advantage of you. And you have to know your worth and have the confidence to know your worth so you don't get taken advantage of, because they will try. Their point of view is to get, great content at the lowest rate that they can. Your job is to produce the best quality content at the highest rate, or get paid the highest rate that you can. So you have that negotiation. What it looks like to reach out to other brands is coming up with a pitch, kind of like what people do with movies, is come up with a concept, an idea, and provide them your kit, your branding kit, so they can see your analytics and what your demographic looks like, because that's always a conversation. You want to make sure that. And then you also want to make sure that you make sense for their brand. There have been great brands that have reached out to me, but I've had to turn them down because my audience doesn't make sense for them. And sometimes you have to be a sounding board to brands saying, as much as I want to work with you, I don't see how I'm going to bring you any value, because you don't want them wasting their money with you because there won't be a returning customer. You want the brands that say, you know what, that one campaign did really well. Let's work together again. So there's way more denying contracts on both sides or deals on both sides versus what you guys mostly see people put out. There's a lot of no's that go on behind the scenes before anybody sees any kind of content, for sure.
And you have so much integrity in what you do. Is it a point of frustration as you see maybe channels that have had less success than you have seem to have more brand deals and have more stuff going on? Or are you just kind of proud of what you put together? I mean, it sounds like you know what you have. So who is the folks that you speak to most? Like, who are the folks that follow you, and how do you serve them through your channel?
Okay. Oh, I want to answer your first question, because I think this is very important for especially creators, is whatever's meant for you is meant for you. I can never look at another creator and be envious or jealous of their opportunities, because you don't know what went on behind the scenes, or how much work they put in, or what relationships they built, or how long they were working on that contract. And that's why it's easy on the surface for us to be envious through social media, but we never know what people go through behind the scenes or what they're dealing with. So I always say what's meant for me is meant for me. And I always try to stick with that. And I know that there are no missed opportunities. Like, if it was meant to be, I would either have taken it, or it's going to come back around, or something like that. And if it was missed, then it just wasn't meant to be. But to answer your second question, I talk to a lot of my subscribers all the time. And it's funny because most of them I know by like nickname or their like social media handles. But yeah, I've become friends with some of them. Shout out to Destiny. And there have been creators that I've become associates with or friends with. And that's a very cool thing, is like you get to meet people that you either interact with in comments or that you see all the time, which has been really, really cool. So I love that. I love that you get to meet people all around the world, and you get just to connect with really cool creators and things like that. So I love just interacting and meeting the subscribers.
And is your audience a lot of young women? Is there a particular population that you feel like you serve, and how do you serve them?
I definitely feel like over the years, it was hard for me to pinpoint, but I definitely have a target market that I conjured up, right? So anytime in business, you learn that you need a target audience. And so I picked my target audience, but I have people that are outside of that. Like I have some males that reach out all the time, and older women that reach out all the time. And it's not that I don't want to cater to them. I just have to make very specific content, because age matters. When you look at your demographic, what a 21-year-old is going through may not be what a 45-year-old woman is going through. And that neither one is bad, but I don't have that experience yet. I'm not a 45-year-old woman. So there's things in life that, like kids, marriage, and a lot of things that I haven't even dealt with. So there's a particular audience that I don't speak to because I don't have that experience. And there is an audience that I have a lot of experience with that I speak to. So for me, I've chose young adults, young women particularly, but I feel like young men can, depending on what they're looking for, can find it as well. And I do have a male audience, but I normally speak to a female demographic because that's my area of expertise and that's what I know. So I really try to think about them when I'm making my content. I ask them what they want to see, what they want, and also what aligns with what I have to offer as well. But I definitely keep my audience in mind. I have a very particular age group, demographic. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna showcase the channel here, and I got some of the most watched videos here. So just to give people an idea that, part of my audience that might not necessarily know your stuff. So we have that how to budget and save money tips and hacks. We also have like 5 signs to know that he's full of shit, right? That kind of stuff.
And that one still reigns true, ladies. So any woman can watch that video. That one still reigns true. And guys have told me that's very true.
I love that. No, I love it. And, I think that's something that I've seen both on YouTube and on LinkedIn, even, folks that are really making an impact. They have that kind of down to earth, tell it like it is. This is what it is. I'm providing value to you wherever it is, right? Whatever channel that you're using. TikTok is huge now. My friend, Stacy Loper, has a TikTok at that Loper Lady. She had a couple hundred followers at the beginning of 2020. By May, she was up to 10,000. Now she's at like 2.8 million followers on TikTok. She'll be on this show, so I'll definitely connect the two of you because I think you guys should talk. But and that's what I'm about. That's my channel. That's like, let me connect people and let bigger and better things happen, and learning cross channels and all that. But I love the fact that you serve the audience that way. That's why I wanted to ask the question and provide that opportunity, because I think that it's amazing. One of the things that you were talking about in your adventure and getting into YouTube was that somebody had already used YouTube to figure something out, and you see my kids are doing that. I definitely go to YouTube as one of the first places that if I need to learn how to do something. It's just one of those great hacks in life right now. Whatever you need to find out, it's on YouTube, right?
Everything's on YouTube.
Yeah. So I want to get into it because we're talking about, takeaways and things that people can walk away from. So obviously you are building a business, and we talk about any kind of business. There's money flowing in, money flowing out. You talked about that you're doing it on your own, but you also have said that you have hired an editor. So now, you have expenses beyond whatever you're investing in the production of the video themselves, camera equipment, lights, all this stuff, which if we get into the tax conversation, these are things that are,
do your taxes.
Yeah. So let's talk about business structure, right? What have you seen, especially from seeing other people and what you've been able to help them do, and what have you done to sort of separate and make sure that you're running your business like a business?
Well, the first thing I did was separate my money. So my YouTube money or any money that's business related goes into that account. I don't commingle it, is what they call it, with my main account. So that's the first thing anybody should do is once you start making income, even if it's $50, even if it's, that's why online banks are so great, because there isn't that that fee, or there's not like a minimum like most traditional business accounts. And then once you have enough money, you can always transfer it into a business account. But the first thing I did was separate the money, and then I pay my editor, all of my expenses out of that account. Also paying yourself, so doing a deposit, doing that to my main account. And then also, like you said, doing taxes and making sure I'm keeping up with all of my expenses, my assets, because a lot of people don't know that once you purchase camera equipment or anything for your business, that's a continued resource for your business. That is an asset, which is tax deductible over time. And again, I'm not a tax expert, so don't say Brittany told you, but find, if you guys are in the creative space or you do have a business like that, find somebody who understands all of your tax breaks. TurboTax is also, it's not sponsored, but I've been using them, and they're great to show you what you can deduct and what goes into it, because every industry is different. And just really making sure that we handle our business, because it's best to handle your business on the front end than the back end. And what else have I been doing? I've just been trying to do it the right way, keeping up with your receipts and your tax documents and things like that. Just really trying to do it right is the best way I can give anybody anything, because if you commingle, then they can come after your personal assets, and you don't want that, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's been such a big thing for me in my business. I started everything as a DBA, so I was operating under my own Social Security. Even with a account that was separate, it still created tax issues so having that business structure. And then as we got into 2020, it was a lifesaver. I've been operating as a S Corp for the last 5 years, but having the Toth Event Staffing, which is the hospitality business I run out of Westchester, having that business as an S Corp, I was able to pay myself. And because we have these bailout PPP kind of programs, I was able to not only pay myself, but it ends up being free money, because I was able to show that the company had suffered losses due to the pandemic, and that's the program. So getting the paperwork, and that's always a struggle for me. And I know it's a struggle for folks, especially that, haven't been in the system. I have a feeling with the military background, the paperwork thing has been much a part of your life that you just can't get around, and you get that muscle heavy, checking off the boxes. And
you have to. You definitely have to be disciplined in that area, because so many things can go wrong, or you can lose out on a lot of money not doing that. I know a lot of people that couldn't buy houses because they didn't have it structured properly, or they didn't have the proof of income, even though they were making it, but it wasn't set up. And you never want to be in a position where you don't get an opportunity because you didn't take care of business. And it's a lot. And I know a lot of brands, when they reach out to you for brand deals, a lot of them do W-9. Some of them do direct deposits, some do W-9s, and you don't want to put your social on something you're sending this someplace else, or China or whatever. You want to make sure that your tax ID number is in there, and in order to get a tax ID number, you have to have a business. So you want to make sure that you're protecting your personal assets as much as possible, especially when you're signing these contracts. And there are YouTubers that get sued all the time. And you don't want to end up having to pay a company that already has millions of dollars, and they take whatever you have. And then a lot of times in those contracts, they will tell you that all of the legal obligations are on you. So you have to pay for not only the time in court, but their legal fees, your legal fees. And a lot of us, we don't have it like that. So you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself at all costs, and read those contracts. And all contracts should be negotiable. There's things that you can change on a contract. And if the company or the brand is like, well, no, that's not what we do, then it's just not the right opportunity and you should walk away. I've had a lot of, especially if you look at the words of exclusivity and look at the legal rights and what you're giving up, and them using your likeness. Like, if you don't know a word on a contract, you guys Google it. It will tell you everything you need to know. But all of those keywords are super important, because you can lock yourself into something. I want a very well-known brand definitely had the budget. They were doing a campaign where they wanted a lot of influencers they just wanted to give you clothes, and they wanted an exclusivity contract for a year. And they only wanted to give you clothes for 3 months, and they didn't want to pay. Absolutely not. Like, you, as a creator, you have to think about, and this is what I always tell all creators, right? Back in the day, before YouTube, people had to pay Fox, NBC, all of these corporations, thousands and millions of dollars to just do a 30-minute ad or commercial or whatever. These companies are saving millions of dollars by working with influencers or content creators. Even if you have a small channel, they will still reach out to you.
Because even with that small channel, they could be potentially getting more business and more views than they would have gotten with that commercial that people were TiVoing and because you have a very specific audience, and that's why they're coming to you. But you especially if you're a woman, or Cameron, you're your own stylist, your own hairstylist, makeup artist, women, wardrobe style, like all of these things that normally a production company or a set would have a team for, that would also cost thousands of dollars. You're doing everything. You're your lighting person, you're your camera person. A lot of times people are their own editors. So think of all the jobs that you have to do, plus the time that it takes you to do it. And you don't want to just give all of that away for pennies. And I get that in the beginning, it's very tempting just to work with a brand to get your feet wet, and it should be a fair exchange, but always take your time and your efforts into consideration when you are pitching your price or whatever you feel is fair for you. But don't allow a brand to lowball you because they don't have a budget, which is baloney. And if they don't, it's just like dating, right? Like when a guy was like, well, I want to date you, but I don't have any money. Well, sir, you shouldn't be dating. And that's how I feel about brands. Like if brands don't have the budget, then they shouldn't be dating you. They shouldn't be reaching out or pitching. That, to me, that's an insult to me. If you didn't have a budget, but you thought that you can come to me and get what you needed, absolutely not. So like I always tell women, just like we raise our standards in dating, we have to raise our standards with these brands, because they're going to do what you allow them to do or get away with. And if they want to walk away, then cool, let them walk away. That's less time and energy and effort that you have to exude, and you can focus on what you really want to create versus an ad campaign or, a sponsorship or something like that. I love that. Because I know you've been building your channel. I think you said you've been building this for the last 6 years. Yeah.
Yes.
So
6 years. Yeah.
Because I think, a lot of people are like, well, okay, I want to monetize. I know for myself, I've just been brand building. I don't have any sort of, even though people are telling me like, oh, you need to monetize what you're doing. And I'm doing a lot of stuff besides the YouTube channel. But where do you think it's appropriate to start saying, okay, I have, a following, I need to start making some money from this effort? It's like, how, is there a certain amount of following? I know that there's, it probably is going to be, the answer is going to be somewhere around, it depends for everybody, but just sort of an outline for folks to understand. I know we were talking about contracts too. So the idea of, when is it a good time to, all right, I'm Googling, or versus I'm going to get a professional that's going to help me to look at this kind of stuff. Like, where are some like trigger points for you? Because I know you probably had a lot of conversations with other up and coming YouTubers. You probably talked to some established YouTubers around this, getting advice for yourself as you're building your channel. So what have you seen as like trigger points for monetizing the channel and getting help and that sort of thing?
We should definitely monetize as soon as possible. So YouTube, now you have to get 1,000 subscribers and 500 or 5,000 watch hours. So as soon as possible. So as soon as you see that email about joining the YouTube partnership, monetize. You're putting in the effort, you're putting in the work. You definitely deserve, you've gotten to that threshold that they want you to be at. So definitely do that. And if a brand reaches out to you, it's all up to the person. But I feel like if they're reaching out to you, they see value in you, and they don't show up to work for free. So why should you work for them for free? So I think it's really, unless it's like a brand that's going to change your life, I don't think that anybody should be out here doing free content. And I get that people will say, well, you have to get your feet wet. And yeah, maybe you want to do maybe 1, 2, or 3 just to see how the flow works, just to see if it's something that you like doing, just to see if it's something that fits with your time schedule. And so maybe you can do maybe 2 or 3, but if you're getting hit up constantly by brands and you have the bandwidth, the capacity, and the money to do really good work, then you should be paid for that. I feel like, people don't intern forever. People intern for 6 months to a year. They don't, or a summer. They don't intern forever. They don't, work for free forever. So it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have or how many followers you have. If brands are reaching out to you, they see some sort of value in you, regardless if it aligns or not. So, and if they say no, then it's okay. Maybe you adjust your prices and things like that, but there can always be negotiation. There should always be, you start off high and then you see what they're working with. And if they say it's out of their budget, and if it's honestly, a lot of these brands aren't life-changing brands or life-changing companies. So if they say no to you, you can let them know. You're not gonna, and I always go back to dating because I feel like business and dating are so synonymous, but it's like every guy or every girl that comes up to you or every guy that approaches a woman, you're not going to be interested no matter how much they want to be in your presence. So it's kind of like that. Like if they think about it like dating, like just because somebody gave you an opportunity, they want to take you out, you're not going to be like, oh yes, let me hurry up and get ready. You're going to assess like, do I even want to date this person? If the answer is no, then it's fine. It's no love lost. There will be other opportunities. I've taken hiatuses where I didn't do a brand deals for a year last year. I still get pitched and approached and things to do things. So don't think that if you walk away from one, that's going to be the last brand deal and you're never going to do a brand deal again. I mean, I don't want to get anything wrong. Like I've done free brand deals when I was starting off, and I've actually lowballed myself a lot starting off. So do some market research. There's ways where you can find out people's rates. Like if you're a hairstylist, you can call around hairstylists and see how much their services are, so you can get a gauge on what's in the market and to fit what you think that your prices are. So there's ways that you can find out what people are charging and see what works for you. And I know that they could say like Social Blade is something that they go off of, and some companies use that, but sometimes that can lowball you as well. So it's really up to you. And if the brand says no, or if they don't want to negotiate, or that you feel like they're paying you way under your efforts, then it's fine to walk away. And then just keep putting in the effort to build up your audience in your channel without those, sponsorships, to where one day you will be able to pitch and get the deals that you want. I don't think that there's anything wrong with saying no, especially in the beginning, but if you want to do free, go ahead. But I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, I think for folks that are kind of jumping into any industry, I always recommend like be open to, especially if you're working with somebody, let's say maybe another channel that's doing kind of stuff that you want to do, and you want to co-promote or help them with their channel, and you want to work for free. I mean,
barter,
I love that kind of stuff, getting the experience for the time and that sort of thing. I love those kind of opportunities because you're paying for the learning, right?
Right.
Through your bartering of time. Talk to us about Social Blade, just for folks that aren't familiar with that. And I know there's more things coming online every day because influencers are becoming such a big deal and such a big part of the marketing, for folks that are in the, marketing and commerce world. There's such a shift from, print advertisement, television advertisement, to influencer marketing on all the different channels that are available right now.
Right. So Social Blade is an online site that's free, or it's free. I believe, yes, free. And all you have to do is put in your social media information. You put in your YouTube channel, your Instagram, or whatever social media platform you have. I'm not sure if TikTok is on there. I haven't been on there in a while, but if TikTok is on there and you have a TikTok audience, maybe put that in. And what it does is it gives you a ballpark amount of what you should charge due to your views and your subscriber base. However, I've heard that it does lowball a lot of people. So again, you have to gauge what you feel is right, but you can use Social Blade as a negotiation tool. If you feel like the price that's on there is fair and you're willing to do work at that price, you can say, hey, you know, this is where I got this number from. This is what my Social Blade says. And you can use that as a negotiation tool for sure. Yeah, but I definitely feel like bartering is great. And again, work with brands that make sense to you. And if you want to do the work, then do it. But over time, I feel like there should be a cutoff of when you do work for free. I feel like it took me a couple of years, but definitely feel if you're putting all that energy, especially if you're making really quality content and you do have that audience, then, you know, that's very important because brands are getting something out of the deal.
Well, when you're a YouTuber, at least I've had this feeling and sort of battling it in my mind. And I started a YouTube channel in 2000, I don't know, early 2000. I didn't really post any videos. And then I posted some videos with the nonprofit and, you know, just from 2009, 2010, these unoptimized videos, no, you know, YouTube thumbnails, no tags, no keywords. And those videos, you know, just in the 10 years since they were posted, you know, garnered 40,000 views. And you're just like, wow, what happens if I would have been going consistently, you know, with some kind of, you know, structured content, you know, weekly, even monthly over the last 10 years, you know, where would that channel be? And so I bring this up because I know one of the things that we wanted to really kind of leave people with was try it, right? So I think media cachet is something that is huge. I want to talk to you a little bit about what your goals are with the channel and where you want to see yourself. So I want this conversation to lead in there, but you know, folks are trying to get a following, get their start, get to a point where they can monetize. What's your message to them in terms of jumping in and actually getting started?
Just try it. YouTube is not for everybody. Just like I love that your friend does TikTok. I can't figure. I feel like I'm old now. I'm only 32, but I cannot figure out TikTok. It's just short form content just overwhelms me.
It's easier than we think it is.
I know, right? I know. And I feel like for some people, they feel the same way about YouTube. Like, I can't figure out YouTube, but this TikTok thing is great. So I feel like try it, see if it works for you. And if it does, continue. But one, it's okay if it doesn't work. And two, it takes time. Like, don't get discouraged. If you enjoy the process of shooting, you know, editing and putting something out, don't get discouraged if by the first month or 2 months or a year that you don't have all these views. You are competing with so many people in the space and the algorithm and things like that. It takes time to get in the algorithm. It takes time with doing certain things, but YouTube is doing a really good job of promoting channels that people aren't subscribed to. I see it all the time, just based off of your interest. So that's why it's very important that if you are making a channel, if you don't have to, but if you can niche it as much as possible. And that's why I have a target audience set around a certain type of content, because somebody may not be subscribed to me, but I may come up on their feed due to what they are interested in. And YouTube is doing a really good job at that. So I would definitely say just keep at it, because if you enjoy the process, the money will come. It's like with anything. Eventually the money will come. But it just doesn't come overnight. For some people it does, but that's very rare. It's a very rare thing, and it takes a lot of strategy. I would say do a lot of research. Like you said, titles, tags, description, thumbnails, all that stuff matters. Everything, once you upload the video, well, the video, that matters too. So research what type of content, how to form a video, things like that, and what you're interested in. And there's strategies and steps with, you know, the content. Like if you notice in my videos, I take no time. I don't have an intro. I take no time with diving into the content because I'm trying to keep people there as long as possible. So that's there's so many different strategies and keys, but there's so many people on YouTube who will teach you those strategies. So if you can sacrifice or just invest in some time into learning certain things, it will happen if you stick with it. But YouTube is not an overnight success type of situation, especially now. Not saying that you can't, but it's normally not an overnight success thing. It does take people a lot of time. And the people who are doing very well that I know of have been doing YouTube for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it just takes time.
Yeah, I look at, Joe Rogan is like one of the most popular, and obviously he just did this huge deal with, getting his exclusive rights to his podcast at $100 million. And, I think one of the things, when you're creating content, repurposing content, I wanted to ask you the question of how, you got somebody that's editing videos, or are you putting it on other platforms? So that's definitely a question I want to put out there. But this idea that putting in that time and effort, it pays off. It is investment strategy, if you will, very much like saving money. And I know you're on that same page. That's the analogy that I've kind of been putting into like why I'm investing in my time in YouTube, and why I think it's a great idea for a lot of, every business nowadays, whether it's the US military or Pepsi or the local candy store, the plumbing company, like every company needs to be a media company because everybody needs to advertise, get the word out, and everybody wants more business. So it's, how are you getting on Google My Business page? How are you making sure, going back to like the US military, like I don't know what their budget is on.
They have a marketing division now.
Right.
They started a new marketing division.
I don't think that's only a like recruitment thing. It's also like a world propaganda, like warfare kind of thing, because it's, hearts and minds, like, so, and that goes, back to, World War days. I mean, just craziness with, prop dropping leaflets, but now it's like, where are the eyeballs and where do leaflets get dropped? They get dropped on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to bring this over to like a military conversation, but I just, to highlight the employment of how important media is across everything. So, you don't know how you are enhancing yourself and your ability to sell your business when you practice things like TikTok and Snapchat
and video content is what people consume the most now. And I feel like everybody in business should have a YouTube channel. And it's not so much to become YouTube famous or have subscribers. You can monetize and reinvest that money into your business. But it's like when people Google your services or they're online, you never know who might stumble upon you. Or I've wanted to work with so many people just off of the things that they do, whether it's real estate, or there was one time I thought I was going to do van life. And I found all these van life companies, and it's just like, you never know how people will find you.
You have to explain van life. You can't drop something like that. I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know what van life is? Oh my gosh. There's a whole thing now where people are living, they're letting go of all of this, and they're living out of their vans, and they're traveling around the world
and living in a van. Yes,
they're downsizing their lives.
Cold.
Yeah, and then a lot of people are also creating content. They're vlogging their journeys and experiences, which are really cool. And there's a whole industry that's coming out of that, which is really, really, really dope. But just to go back, is like, you never know, like that's going to help your search engine optimization. And when people Google your business, they're going to click on that video before they click on your website, or they're going to click on that video before they read an article. Like, I'm not saying blogging is definitely not dead. There's Pinterest, definitely, depending on your industry, you can help people get to your business. So I definitely don't want to say blogging is dead, but people are going to watch a video most of the time before they will read an article. And if you can do both, that's even better. But I feel like every business should have a YouTube channel, because people don't necessarily do business because you do great business. They do business with people they like. And if they know that, hey, I like that person and they do great work, they're mostly going to work with you versus just somebody with a regular website that has no faces to it. Like, gone are the days where people are disconnected to what they do. People want to know who's behind this. Who am I spending my money with? What are their beliefs? What do they do? Do their beliefs align with mine, and not to bring politics in it, but that's something that matters to people. You know, does this company believe in this, you know, and does this company believe in this? And whatever side of the fence you're on, there's an audience for either one. You know, some people are like, oh yeah, I believe in that too. So, or no, I don't. So
yeah. Are you offsetting your carbon? Are you doing, yeah, absolutely. All that stuff.
Or
Yeah.
just everything matters. So I feel like YouTube is a great way to showcase behind the scenes of your business. Who works in your office? What does your fulfillment spaces look like? Is Joe on the conveyor belt doing X, Y, and Z? Oh, I like Joe. Like there's a van life couple. Their dad runs their tea office, and people love Bob. They always want to see Bob on the videos. So it's like when people know who is behind the brand, they're way more likely to spend money with you if they like you. A lot of people don't support a lot of the things that I do. Actually, let me talk about this. I don't know if you know who Kristen Cavallari is.
No.
She's okay. So she was she's a reality star. She did Laguna Beach and The Hills and all that. I was a huge fan. And she has a show now called something Cavallari, and it's on E. And she did a shop, like a pop-up shop, or she opened a new shop and brought all of her top customers to her store. And when she was trying to ask them, like, what do you guys want to see with the store? What do you guys want to do? All they wanted to do was talk to her about her life and how much they loved her and they followed her all these years. And what she realized in that episode was they're invested in me. You know, yeah, I give them great products, but they're here because they love me and they're interested in what I have to do and what I love. And so it's called Very Cavallari. Sorry, Kristen, if she's ever watching this. I love you, girl. But that's something that's very important that a lot of people don't understand. Gone are the days where people invest in just businesses because it's a good business. They want to know who's behind everything. That's why it's so, like, you see all of these articles where, like, this company just hired a woman, blah, 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 CEO. They're putting that stuff out there for a reason. You know, they're saying and telling the public that stuff for a reason. So people want to do business with people that they like and that they feel have the same values and beliefs as they do. And there's an audience for everybody, no matter what side of the fence you're on or, you know, anything like that.
Well, I love that you said in terms of the know, like, and trust thing, because those are huge buzzwords in the business community now. If people like you, they want to do business with you. If you focus on personal brand, because I see a lot of people too, and I'd love your opinion on this. Your YouTube channel is your name. Mine is as well, even though, you know, this show is Biz Dev Live and, you know, over 175 episodes of Biz Dev Live. But I do it based on my name, partly because that was the way that I originally set up my channel. And I was like, you know, that's what it is. But also because if my name is my brand, that means that any business that I'm involved with, I can, if my name means something, then I can bring that level of influence and bring the fans, the followers, the attention over to that brand, whatever I'm doing. And if I'm a multipreneur, right, you know, if I'm interested in doing several businesses or several different things, and I love this world that we live in, because if you want to do fashion and you want to do banking and you want to do you know, stickers, you know, like, it all fits together. You can be all in. Maybe you want to do a fashion brand, you want to do business, fintech, and you want to get into, you know, self-driving cars, you know, you can, right? Because there's no limitation. There's channels for everything. There's people to partner with. The information is available. It's out there. So this message of, you know, trying it, setting up your business structure so you're doing it in a great way, I think is going to help a lot of people. Talk to me about what the future is, because you have said it yourself. You're on the younger side of things. 10 years beyond you, but I feel like I got a lot of life ahead of me. I know there's some things I want to do in terms of partnering with businesses, but talk to us about what the future holds for Brittany Daniel and where you want to take things.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's loaded. I definitely see myself hosting a show just like yourself, Cameron, and this has been very inspirational for me. So thank you very much. Hosting shows, really in 2 years, really diving headfirst into content creating and really producing bigger and better content for my audience. I have some other businesses in the works right now that I think are going to be very awesome and lucrative, and just continuing to grow the Brittany Daniel brand as Brittany the host, and hopefully things just keep growing. I see like sky's the limit. It's hard because I don't do like the 10-year goals. Hopefully in, a few years, if the stars align and God says the same, then I'll be married and I'll have kids and things like that. Hasn't happened yet. And if it does, then that'll give me a whole different, audience and realm to talk about and go into. I'm going to be a homeowner very soon. So I'm excited about that content coming, because I want to thank you. I want to tell my audience about that process and what I've learned, and I want them to go through it with me with, decorating my place and all of that. So it's just way more content and just more focused on myself, and because we can get so caught up in business and all of the us wanting, but I've learned, and I've been getting a lot of signs and signals to just kind of like take it easy, one day at a time. I'm very ambitious, but everything doesn't have to happen so rapidly. It's just, just living in the moment, enjoying life, taking care of myself, self-care off the internet and outside of business and working, because I'm a workhorse and I can work myself to death. And that's something I'm really just trying to take care of myself, because health is wealth. And so that's something spiritually and physically is very important to me this year, for sure.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it again, because I wrote it down when you said it before. I want to talk about burnout, but you said self-care. And, I truly believe very much the same. If you want to be wealthy, you need to be healthy, because you cannot be wealthy if you're not healthy, right? So,
right.
You can have all the money in the world, but, it does you very little good if you're not in a mental place where you can actually do good with it for yourself or for others.
Exactly.
And if you're not around any longer, then it's certainly not helping you, for sure. So talk to us about self-care. We talked about today in terms of, just getting in there and starting it. I know I've spoken to, people about, I'm daily with my YouTube channel, and that was based off of seeing people like Joe Rogan. Definitely, I'm not a fan of all his content. He's definitely interesting, but just understanding, like, his average length of a show is like 2.5 hours. So like, the whole idea that, everything has to be like 5 minutes or less, or everything has to be TikTok, like, you can do whatever you kind of want to do. So that was a great example for me to just have freedom to say, all right, I can format things the way that I want to format them. And then the idea that, he started doing this a long time ago. Of course, he, has, Star and Fear Factor and all these different things, but it's all played off of each other. One thing is sort of help the other. Certainly, if you want to be an actor or actress, having a following behind you is going to help you a lot, as we see like the TikTok generation of movie stars being built.
Yeah, they're asking people for their social media information when they go to auditions, dancers too, which I think is crazy. But yeah, talent is kind of like, all right, talented, but what's your following look like? Which I think it's crazy.
Who are you bringing to the table? But I think it makes sense though, because, as we interview for jobs, I think it's really a way to say, hey, are you passionate about what you do? So how are you showing that? And I've certainly seen actors where I've said, hey, you should really think about like doing a TikTok or YouTube. You're a media personality,
right?
Put yourself out there. This is a way to, I know that YouTube, you don't really like own your content, but YouTube is monetizable. So by putting,
you definitely own it though, because you have full autonomy to take your content off. You have full autonomy to reuse your content. Yes, you have a license with them where you can't decipher what ads go, but you definitely own your content with YouTube.
Right. I think that's sort of where like people get in their head with it, is that, it's out there, could you be canceled, right? With, the whole cancel culture conversation, which is, I think, a little bit crazy, but I also understand, like, I've talked with people that are in like, they're in the sex therapy space. So they're like trying to put things out on Facebook and YouTube, and suddenly, they're, I
They get demonetized and yeah,
different things happening. They are limiting their views. They're silenced quietly. There's things that happen in the space. So like different people are experiencing. I understand that.
right.
But like for the regular like person that's not trying to get into like the sex therapy space or those kind of controversial areas, I'm like, put yourself out there because that can help you. And then it's a monetizable source. It makes sense to me. But I've seen those people also say, no, that's not really my thing. I just want to act. I'm like, but isn't that act? Like, so I sort of understand it from an employer job thing. But yeah, I think, the artistic side of it. I went to school to be an actor. I've studied. I've been in this. No, but how many people are following you on YouTube or TikTok?
It matters.
They're like, so I get like both sides of that conversation. It really makes sense to me, and it's interesting how it's going to like play out.
It's something that's necessary, unfortunately. And as much as we don't like it, it's the same as like now you need a college degree, whereas 20 years ago you didn't. It's just like, hey, if you want, it's like, what do you want? Do you want the hard? Which hard do you want? And I get it. Everybody is not willing to put themselves out there, but I want to debunk this. Just because you put yourself on the internet doesn't mean your business has to be on the internet. Doesn't mean you control your narrative. You're not on reality TV. It's totally you. If there's something in a video that you don't, like you said, you made a mistake, you can edit it out. It's not, unless you're doing a live show, you can definitely edit things out. You can always delete stuff. And I get the cancel culture is so like, but there's a lot of people that have been canceled that are just, they're fine. They're back into society. So it's the same thing.
Well, it's interesting, right? If you get canceled, it might be the best thing for you.
It depends. It could, but I feel like the only way that you're going to stop is you. Are you going to let millions or thousands of strangers stop you from continuing your dream and your goal? Or what if you do a movie and it goes bad? Are you going to never act again? Or what if you have a scandal and it goes bad? And with the sex therapist thing, there's a young lady named Shan Boodram who's done amazing on YouTube. And I feel like it's not really what you talk about, it's how you talk about it. And okay, yeah, you may get demonetized or you might not be able to be filtered to everybody, which, they do have an 18 plus type of situation because they're trying to protect young kids, which I think is great on YouTube's behalf. You don't have to put all of your information there. You can say, hey, if you want to hear the real talk, come to my podcast. Or if you want to, I'm just doing this is the PG version, but if you really want to get to the nitty gritty, there's always a lot of ways around that. And I think, just to be fair, I have a friend that's an actor, and I told him the same thing like years ago about Instagram. And he was like, I will never be on Instagram. He's like an Instagram head at this point. Like he's on Instagram more than me. And it's just that it's which hard do you want? Are we going to make excuses? Or are we just going to go after our dreams? And it is hard. It's not like that's not an excuse. It's hard. Sometimes we don't have the time. We have lives, and so we don't want to do it.
Well,
but
this goes back to
your goal.
What I really wanted to talk about, which was the self-care and
the
thing. So, as people are getting into it, how do you recommend people take care of themselves, do it in such a way that they can progress without the burnout? Because, when we talked about like the viral video thing, I've seen that where I think maybe one of the most challenging things is you could have like early success. You could have a viral video. And then suddenly you're comparing every video you do after that to that video that did really well. I haven't had that. I'm 175 videos in, and nothing has been like, 40,000 views or anything.
Not yet. It's coming. Don't worry.
Well, yeah, no, but it's just, I think like if my second video had gone, to like 100,000 views,
right,
and every other video was like 10 views, I think I would be in a worse spot than I am now. Like I understand I'm in the grind. I understand that this is just, what it is. But I was speaking with a young woman who she put on YouTube. She had a breast reduction surgery. And so like that video, like literally did like 40,000 views. And I don't know if that helped her because, now what's the next step? Like, not every video is going to be a breast reduction video. There's a limit on that. Right. Yeah, so it's interesting. Like I didn't really see the consistency there. So what do you recommend for like, all right, get started, self-care? How do you actually, commit to this so that it actually turns into something?
The first thing I would say to your point is we look at numbers so backwards, I feel like, as a society, right? If you see 10 only 10 people watched your video. People are like, oh my God, that's horrible. If you think about it, if you had 10 people in your house, that's a lot. If you have 50 people watching your videos, that's a lot, right? If you had 50 people in your house, or if you had 50 people show up to a conference, that's a lot. You've got 100, 1,000, like, and sometimes I of course, we're, as human beings, that's natural. You're going to be like, dang, this video has all of these and this, and it happens to me, but I have to remind myself that each number is an individual person that's taking the time out to do that. So that's one, being grateful for that, and just really keeping in mind that, yeah, that video may be low compared to maybe other videos or other people, but that's still a lot. 1,000 people is still a lot of people who rock with you on a daily basis. That's the first thing, is just really putting into a realistic perspective on what we're putting our time and our attention to. It's really on our mindsets and how we see things. That's the first thing. The second thing is being kind to yourself, being gracious. If you're doing the best you can and you're putting out quality content, or content that you feel is, that you enjoy, or that you feel is good, you have to give yourself grace. We can't control everything. We want to, but we can't. And 3, I take a lot of time to myself. Like, there's some days where I don't do anything. I don't have children, so I have the autonomy to not really move some days. Baths, going to get my hair done, my nails done, whatever makes me feel good. I love watercoloring and meditating and skating. And I really try to fill my cup up, right, with things that make me full, because we can't pour from empty cups. We can't pour from half cups. I love Lisa Nichols said we should be pouring from our saucers, because we should be running over, right? Our cups running over. So we shouldn't really be, you can't give to the world, to the internet, to your business, your kids, your family, and have nothing left for yourself. So I think that self-care is whatever makes you feel you whole, without the money, without stuff that can be taken from you, but what inside makes you feel good. For me, I like TV. TV has been my thing since I was a little girl. And and social media and motivational videos will make you feel like crap for watching TV. I get joy out of watching the same Sex and the City show 18,000 times. When I hear that theme song come on, it just lights up my soul. So I feel like we have to pay attention to what really makes us happy. A good meal makes me happy. A good glass of wine makes me happy. A nice bath. I'll take my laptop in the bath and just sit in there and watch a comedy, or whatever makes you just really light your soul. And some people it's fishing. Some people it's dancing. Whatever that is like really tapping into what makes you feel good on a consistent basis, so that you're so full, you can show up in other areas because you're happy, internally, because you've poured into yourself and you've done so much for yourself that, okay, I can go out in the world. It's not about your schedule. It's not about how hard you went in the gym. For some people it is, but it's not how much money your company made. Those things are great. But if you took all of that away, right, what in your life makes you happy? For some people, it's just taking care of their kids. Some people just baking cookies, or it doesn't have to be a phenomenal thing or something that the world feels is phenomenal. It's what feels phenomenal to you. Sometimes it's just going to Bath and Body Works and getting your favorite candle. It can be something very, very small, but eating right, eating foods that feed your body in a good way, consuming great content. But sometimes if you want to consume something that may not be so great, I feel like I think the internet and motivational videos can be kind of toxic sometimes, because they make you feel, if I'm not doing it in this exact way, if I'm not waking up at 5 a.m., if I'm not, sleeping until I'm dead, or I don't want it as much as I can breathe. No shade to Eric Thomas, but that we're not doing something right. And it's just like, one thing I threw away a long time ago was that millionaire routine, right? Those billionaires that have to wake up that early, they have to wake up that early for a reason, because they have those multi-million-dollar companies that need their input before they can make their decisions for the next day. And I hate that saying that Beyonce has the same 24 hours. She has a staff. Let's keep it above.
Yes.
Beyonce has a chef, a maid, a nanny. We do not have the same amount of time or 20. So let's take all of that comparison out, or we should be this. If you feel great when you get up at 7 a.m. and you can work and have a really fulfilling day, wake up at 7 a.m. You don't have to kill yourself of waking up at a certain time that works for somebody else. And some people, it does work for them to wake up early. I remember I threw out all of that when I heard the story of Prince, right? So when Prince was alive, and I could get this time wrong, but Prince was a night owl. So he would start his day at like 5 p.m. or something around that time and work or do whatever he wanted to do all the way until like 6 a.m. Because when Prince was done with his day, he used to make pancakes for people. That was the stories I would hear. So when I heard that, it's like, it's not the time you get up. It's the time that you are up. Are you productive in that time? Because you can be up at 5 a.m., but if you're sleepy all the way until 12 o'clock, or you don't really do any work until 2 or 3, or when the kids go to sleep, then get your rest, be well rested. J-Lo gets 9 hours of sleep. For anybody that wants to know, she doesn't do that little 4 or 5 hours. J-Lo gets 9 hours of sleep. Rest. Your body is not a machine. You need to rest. Your mind cannot, operate at its fullest potential unless you're well rested, you're well hydrated, and you have good food in your system. So we have to take care of ourselves and what works for us. So I want to debunk and throw out all of those motivational, those can be great, but they can be also very toxic, because if they're making you feel bad about yourself or making you feel like you're not doing enough, let it go. You're doing great.
I love that. And my wife is a big J-Lo fan. We actually flew out to Las Vegas. That was an anniversary gift. I'm taking her to a J-Lo conference. So she likes to sleep in bed. So I'm going to let her know that J-Lo gets 9 hours of sleep. She'll appreciate that her idol gets sleep, and they have that in common. That was bigger than you knew when you dropped that to me today. That I'll take that away, and that'll be something that will win me some points in my relationship today. So I appreciate that.
We need our sleep, you guys. We have to. If we're not energized, we can't operate at 50% every single day. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some days where you don't get it, right? If you have kids or you have businesses.
Let's go back to this. So this is something, because I've done the college and career prep thing for the last 24 years. And so when I'm in school with the students and I've had the opportunity to sit them, one of the biggest pieces of the conversation. The school that we work at is A. Philip Randolph Campus High School in Harlem. It's inside New York City. Now, people are coming to that school. Students are coming from that school from Brooklyn, from Bronx, from Queens. So sometimes I'm talking to somebody that's commuting from the Bronx. So they're literally waking up at like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning to make it to school by like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I'm like, well, what time do you go to bed? And they're like, oh, like 12, 1 o'clock. Like, how, if you're doing that on a daily, and I know everybody's like, especially with teenagers, oh, I'm going to catch up on the weekend. That's not really how the body works, right? That key thing of like, if you want to function on a high level, and I've had very smart students that were doing very well. I'm like, if you got a little bit more sleep, you'd be able to perform.
That's how we prevent burnout, though, to be honest, is allowing yourself rest, allowing yourself downtime to disconnect, to get off the internet, to stop working. The way we burn out is because we're on go. Like, our bodies are not machines. Like, we have to honor what God gave us. And in order to have that longevity, to have the wealth, to have like, and I don't know if it's an American thing of why we have to have stuff so quick or in a few years, or it's just like, let's all relax. Like, he's always provided for us. We're doing great. It's not, our dreams aren't going anywhere. It takes people a long time. Like, it took Steve Harvey years of sacrifice of sleeping in his car and all these things in order to get to where he was all these years. It takes time. And I just want to give anybody that permission. Like, if you want to relax this weekend, relax. It's okay. Your dreams aren't going to blow up. The opportunities aren't going to pass. We have to take care of ourselves, our families, our loved ones, because we don't want to work so much and we look up and we have nobody to share it with, or we have a lot of people in our lives that resent us because, and this is another thing I want to say. A lot of people, I don't know where it is in our society where we feel like relationships, especially romantic ones, are supposed to just work out. Everything else in life we have to work towards, right? We have to work towards our dreams, our goals, our credit scores, our money, everything. But personal relationships, friendships are just supposed to work out. You have to water those plants too. You have to spend time and invest time and energy and effort in those things too. You can't just wake up one day and just say, oh, I want to be married, and spend no time nurturing that relationship, getting to know that person, spending time with that person. It doesn't work like that. And I wish our society would get out of it'll happen. Faith without works is dead. So if we have to work for everything else in our lives, why are relationships something that we just find so frivolous that we feel like we don't have to work towards because we feel people are obligated to understand that we don't have time for them? It's not fair. And so I want society to go back to fostering healthy and loving relationships and spending time with people that we love and we care about. And I need to do this for myself too, like my family, I feel like I don't make enough time for them because we take them for granted because they're always going to be there. We're like, oh, we can do that later. And then God forbid somebody dies and then we have all this guilt because we didn't spend time with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to the self-care thing. And one of the things, and just because you brought up the relationship thing, and I was bringing to my wife, one of the things, and I'm trying to educate my children on this. I have 4 children under my roof with my wife, and
yay, congratulations.
Thank you. 14, 12, 9, and 3, soon to be 4. But one of the things that I, certainly grew to understand as a young man, I had a kid at 19, and you need to, if you're going to be in a healthy relationship with another human being, you need to be at a place, and I'm going to talk to potentially maybe some of the folks that are in your network as somebody that's not. You need to be, especially as a young woman, this is what I preach to my 14-year-old daughter and then the rest of her boys, but for myself as a man, I didn't feel like I was ready or should be ready or eligible to be in a relationship until I was out on my own, making my own money, paying for my own space. If you're taking a guy that's going right from living under his mama's roof or his father's roof, and going to live and shack up with that guy, whether you're doing it the right way or whatever, through marriage or whatever, that's obviously, there's a lot of different ways people build things up and education and whatnot. But my feeling is that is not a person ready to be an individual that's going to be a healthy member of a relationship.
Oh, for sure.
Where they understand the importance and the liberation of paying your own stuff. You get a woman that's never experienced that, and then she's under a roof, and you get maybe the income dynamics, or maybe the guy's paying the bills, and now she feels like, oh, if I step out of this relationship, I'm not going to be okay. So now I'm in this relationship for other reasons, rather than for just mutual love and support. So a big thing for my daughter has been like, be able to go out there, get your own. I really admire it because you've definitely seemed like you're on that track. And I know that you're going to get everything you want and more because you're independent, you're doing things for yourself. And that puts you in a really great position to be a very healthy partner of a great relationship. And you just want to make sure that that other person has that similar kind of, get it. They're not depending on you.
Oh no.
and if they are dependent on you, they're dependent on you for the right things. For
exactly.
Or not for financial freedom or any other crazy kind of thing. This has been such a fantastic conversation with you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
So I'm going to showcase the channel up here. I'm going to bring it on to the screen. But as I'm doing that, if you can just let people know where folks can follow you, all the different places. I know you're at Brittany, the host, on many of the social media channels, but I'll let you talk about that. I know they can go down below to find your YouTube channel as well as your LinkedIn to connect with you there. If you're on Facebook, off to the side. So I'll let you say that spiel. And like, who are people that you would really like to connect with? I know you have this confidence conference coming up. So I'll talk about all that in terms of who should be connecting with you and communicating with you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Cameron. I really, really enjoyed this. Thank you for sharing your audience with me. I'm Brittany Daniel, you guys. And so I make content to help young adults live their best lives in the areas of personal finance and self-development. I'm geared towards mostly 25 and younger women, mostly college age women. And I try to just help them in the areas that I made mistakes in, whether it's dating, my personal finances. I really do like the bone structure, the foundation. I call myself a catalyst of thought because I want what I say is not the end all be all, but I want it to provoke a thought, or I want somebody to take what I said and have the courage to go and do the action that they want. So you guys can follow me there. You guys can follow me on Instagram at Brittany the Host and Twitter at Brittany the Host. And my confidence conference is for any young woman or woman, it doesn't matter your age, who is lacking confidence in herself through either dating or at work or with their personal finance, wanting to just level up and change their lives in any capacity that makes them feel comfortable. And during the conference, I'm giving you guys the tools to do that for yourself, because I want everybody to understand that everybody's path is different. What works for me may not work for you, but we are going to make sure that at the end of that conference, you have the tools you feel are necessary to get you on the path that you want to go and have the life that you want. And so thank you, Cameron, so much for sharing this platform again. I absolutely loved it. I had a great, great time. And yeah, anybody can connect with me. Again, Brittany the Host, or you can email me at brittanythehost@gmail.com.
Love it. All right, we're gonna play us off with the BizDev theme. Do you have the link for the conference, just in case people are watching this and they want to go?
I do. I can send it to you. It's actually, if you look on my YouTube banner, it's right at the top on the right. It says Confidence Conference right there at the right. They can just click on that and it goes straight to it. Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. All right, I'll drop that into the chat. That's a long link. That dang Eventbrite links are crazy.
And if they use the code 2021, they get $10 off the ticket.
Oh,
so that's you got like a week left to use that code. So use the code 2021, you can get $10 off your ticket.
Actually, I think I can put it on the screen right now. So that's it. Right there, virtual confidence. So I'll put that link into the stuff afterwards here, because it's a long link, and we'll get it onto the chat and everything, and we can now share it out and follow it with the link up to it. Everybody, please connect with Brittany. She is amazing. She cares. She's giving. Really excited to share you with the world. And with that, I'm going to play us off with the BizDev theme. Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T.